The conversation around this franchise changed again the second Carlos King stepped onto that stage and started talking at the Black Effect Podcast Festival. Because this time, the message did not come from a cast member arguing online. It did not come from a messy live session. It did not come from bloggers fighting in comment sections. It came from somebody who understands the system from the inside. Somebody who helped shape reality television. Somebody who knows exactly how this industry works behind closed doors. And that is why people immediately paid attention to every single word he said. What made the moment so interesting was that nothing about it looked dramatic at first. The setting looked professional. The conversation sounded calm. The energy felt polished. It looked like a normal discussion about success, business, growth, and moving forward. But underneath all of that was another message completely. And viewers caught it immediately. Because reality television fans are trained to listen between the lines, they know shade does not always sound loud. Sometimes the biggest message is hidden inside a compliment. Sometimes the strongest criticism comes through praise for somebody else. And that is exactly why social media exploded after people started replaying the clip over and over again. The second Carlos started talking about Stormy and praising the way she handled herself, people instantly started asking the same question. Who was he really talking about? Because in reality television, especially in this franchise, nothing ever feels random anymore. Every statement gets analyzed. Every interview gets picked apart. Every compliment gets connected to somebody else. And honestly, viewers may not be wrong for thinking that way, because the timing of this conversation matters a lot. For months now, the entire reality TV world around this franchise has felt unstable. Every week, there is another rumor, another fallout, another friendship breaking apart, another blogger exposing alleged behind-the-scenes information, another cast member responding emotionally online, another accusation about favoritism, contracts, production, editing, or manipulation. The environment feels tense all the time now, and fans are exhausted trying to figure out who is telling the truth. That is why Carlos stepping into the conversation changed everything. Because unlike bloggers or cast members, he speaks from a completely different position. He understands production. He understands contracts. He understands editing. He understands how narratives are built. And most importantly, he understands power. So when somebody like that publicly praises one specific type of behavior, viewers naturally start thinking about the opposite side of that statement too. And that is exactly what happened when he started talking about grace, silence, and success. At first, the message sounded simple. Stormy left the show gracefully. Stormy stayed focused on business. Stormy avoided public chaos. Stormy continued making money. That was the surface-level message. But underneath that was another message entirely. Because once Carlos said the line, "The best revenge is my paper," the entire internet immediately understood what he was really saying. That line was not just motivational, it was strategic. What he appeared to be saying was this: if you are truly successful, you do not need to destroy everybody publicly on your way out. You do not need non-stop lives attacking production. You do not need online meltdowns every week. You do not need bloggers fighting battles for you. You do not need to expose private conversations to prove your value. You move quietly. You move smart. You build your money. You protect your reputation. That was the deeper message people heard. And honestly, that is why the reaction online became so intense. Because viewers instantly started connecting his words to former cast members who have publicly expressed frustration with production over the years, some people accused the show of favoritism. Some complained about editing, some aligned themselves with bloggers and online creators to push certain narratives. Others hinted at behind-the-scenes manipulation. So when Carlos praised Stormy for staying above all that noise, people naturally interpreted it as indirect criticism toward those who did not. That is what made the moment feel so personal even though no names were directly mentioned. The Black Effect Podcast Festival itself also added another layer to the situation because the environment matters. This was not some random Instagram live happening late at night. This was a huge public event filled with celebrities, influencers, podcasters, media figures, reality stars, and industry people. Atlanta was packed. According to people who attended, the place was crowded, loud, and almost chaotic from the moment the doors opened. Events like this are more important than people realize because they are not just parties, they are power rooms. This is where relationships get repaired. This is where deals happen quietly. This is where people network. This is where alliances shift. And in celebrity culture, who gets invited matters. Who gets stage time matters. Who gets introduced warmly matters. Everything becomes part of perception. That is why Carlos making those comments publicly carried so much weight. This was not reunion drama. This was not gossip from a fan page. This was an industry conversation happening in front of a powerful audience, and because of that, people treated the message differently. One thing viewers immediately noticed was how heavily Carlos focused on the idea of grace. He kept returning to that word over and over again: grace, dignity, professionalism, silence. And psychologically, those words carry a lot of meaning inside entertainment culture. Grace sounds positive on the surface, but it also creates comparison automatically. If one person is being praised for grace, then people start wondering who is being viewed as messy behind the scenes. That is human nature. And reality television works heavily through comparison. Some fans agreed completely with Carlos' message. They argued that public meltdowns usually hurt the cast member more than the network in the long run. They believe silence protects careers. They believe professionalism matters. They believe people should leave situations quietly and focus on success instead of public revenge. But other fans disagreed strongly. They argued that silence only protects production while cast members suffer privately. They believe speaking out matters. They believe exposing manipulation matters. They believe viewers deserve honesty about how reality television really works behind the scenes. And honestly, both sides have valid arguments. Reality television has changed dramatically over the years. Back in the day, networks controlled almost everything. The audience only saw what producers decided to air. Cast members had very limited power to challenge narratives publicly. But social media changed that completely. Now cast members can respond instantly. They can go live immediately after episodes air. They can explain scenes from their own perspective. They can build independent fan bases outside the show itself. And because of that, production no longer controls the full narrative the way they used to. But at the same time, networks and producers still hold enormous power too. They control casting. They influence contracts. They shape storylines through editing. They decide who gets more screen time. So even though social media gave cast members more freedom, the power balance still remains complicated. That is why this whole conversation feels bigger than simple reality TV drama. What viewers are really watching is a struggle over narrative control. Who gets to decide the truth? The cast? The producers? The bloggers? The fans? Everybody is fighting for influence at the same time now. And that brings us to another major part of this entire situation: bloggers. One of the biggest changes in reality television culture is the way bloggers and online commentators have become deeply connected to the actual ecosystem of these shows. Years ago, bloggers mostly reacted after episodes aired. Now they shape conversations before filming even finishes. Cast members leak information to them. Bloggers build relationships with insiders. Rumors spread before episodes even air. Fans organize online campaigns supporting their favorite personalities. The line between viewer and participant has completely disappeared. And honestly, that is part of why everything feels so chaotic now. Because once bloggers become emotionally involved in cast politics, the content stops being neutral commentary and starts becoming faction warfare. Suddenly, everybody has sides, everybody has favorites, everybody has enemies. Every recap feels personal. Every rumor becomes emotional. The audience is no longer just watching a reality show anymore. They are watching an entire online war happening across multiple platforms at the same time, and that creates serious trust issues behind the scenes. Production starts wondering who leaks information. Cast members start wondering who is secretly working with bloggers. Bloggers start believing they are part of the story. Fans start treating cast dynamics like political campaigns. It becomes messy very quickly. That is why Carlos's comments about grace and silence landed so strongly, because many viewers interpreted the message as a warning about what happens when public conflict goes too far. One point that stood out heavily during online discussions afterward was the idea that entertainment industries never forget public behavior. Whether people agree with that or not, there is truth to it. Reputation matters heavily in television, sometimes even more than talent itself.